How you doing, everybody? My name is Dean Olson. I'm a songwriter, radio host, and producer from Orange County, California, and I'm really just an average guy who loves to make music. However, when I get behind a microphone, I become the StrongWriter on the radio, helping songwriters and artists keep musically fit. And the way I love to do that is through faith and hope and encouragement, by taking in the stories and experiences told to me by my wonderful guests, and by learning from the best in the business, passing it along to you. Okay, so let's get started. I want to welcome you to another beautiful day for a fantastic show. Power Me Up Radio, the station with heart on iHeart, with a husband and wife duo who named themselves Three Pairs of Boots. That would be on the screen right now, Andrew Stern and Laura ARIAS. I hope they pronounced that right. They play a rock and roll flavored mix of folk and country, and Andrew seasons the mix with his favorite secret spice, which is Laura's incredible voice. Three Pairs of Boots is releasing their third album called Mighty Love. It'll be available September 2. I have a copy of it right here. Look at that thing. Look at that beautiful couple right there. Three Pairs of Boots. Aww. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show Andrew Stern, Laura ARIAS, Three Pairs of Boots.
Thanks.
Hey.
Nice to be with you again.
Thanks for having us.
How are you doing today?
We're doing great. We're trying to stay warm in foggy, windy San Francisco.
Oh, that's a nice place to be, isn't it? Yeah, I like San Francisco a lot. Mm-hmm. So don't often get up there because it's a good 8 hours or so away from me. So it's hard to get up there all the time. And my kid lives up there, my son. Still a beautiful place to be. You're right in the city, aren't you? You too?
Mm-hmm. We are. We're on the western side of town.
Close to the beach.
Yeah, good. It's a town of microclimates. You know, we find ourselves leaving the house with the jacket on and maybe a sweater, and then when we get across town, we're taking off the jacket and taking off the sweater. And then when you travel back home, we're putting the sweater back on.
Layers.
So that's
the key to living here.
With San Francisco.
That seems to be the way it is in California anyway. You know, no matter where you go, there's always a whole hodgepodge of different climates, and that's what we're famous for. And then that way the other people can't be jealous. They say, well, I'd love to be in California. And then we go, well, I'd love to be in another state, but I don't want to have super heat or super cold, but you kind of get everything over here, don't you?
Mm-hmm. You sure do.
And I was showing the people this album here. Very nice photo of you two. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about that photo shoot. I thought that was. I'm always interested in when were these photos you did way before? Or was this intentional for the album?
It was intentional for the album. You want to talk about it, Eric?
We just happen to have a really great photographer who we've been working with for the last two records. Eric Wolfinger. Uh-huh. He's actually a very successful food photographer. He's got 25 plus cookbooks to his credit. If you know San Francisco restaurants, he shot the cookbook for a couple of 3-star places, Manresa and Bennu. Shot the cookbook for Dandelion Chocolate and Tartine, which is actually where he was a baker for 5 years. And got to be really good friends with the owner and was always a photographer and a surfer. He taught the owner how to surf. The owner taught him how to make bread. And when the owner got a book deal, he asked Eric to shoot the pictures, telling him that no photographer would better get the process and intricacies of baking bread than he would, because he worked there for 5 years. And he's an amazing photographer. He did, his last cookbook was for an LA restaurant, a pasta restaurant, very well known, that he won a James Beard Award for. And they called him the Annie Leibovitz of food photography. But he's a really great guy to work with. He's
super fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah.
Somewhat, on the fly, improvisational. Mm-hmm. And so when we talked about doing the photo shoot for this album, he said, great, I've got a few places picked out. We'll drive up to Point Reyes. And we just kind of went out to Point Reyes and shot in a couple different locations. And the money shots, like the cover of the record, really came about not a location that he had chosen, but we were coming back from the last location where you're out at Drake's Beach, which is home to a lot of sea lions. In fact, the beach in the parking lot has big warning signs. Stay at least 2 car lengths away from the sea lions, or else you might get crushed.
It says that, huh?
Well, not the crush part, but they definitely warn you to keep your distance. Anyway, so we're coming back from the beach, and it was a beautiful location. It was windy, and it was kind of almost Mars-like.
The sun was going down, and he wanted to get a last picture, so we jumped out of the car and ran out there for the shot that
that was
just
after
being shown.
We're coming back from Drake's Beach. We're gonna come up the hill. We're gonna okay, let's go get some oysters, somewhere. And we sort of get up on the crest of the hill, and he's in another car in front of us with his assistant, and he waves us over into this dirt parking lot, and immediately comes over and goes, "Get out of the car, go over in that field," because the sun was setting and it was like beautiful full moon, and those are the money shots. That's
cool. Yeah, you were saying Mars-like. That back cover sort of reminds you of that, the way he tinted that, or maybe it wasn't even tinted that way, but it looks pretty.
No, well, that's from the beach, and the beach, because the sand was blowing. It was like super windy. The sand was like just blowing and creating like this sort of misty look to it. And the cliffs are kind of like
otherworldly,
like from Dover in England.
It was gorgeous. Yeah, it was just the natural light, and which he's super big on. He just manifested some really cool moments.
And this is probably not something that's uncommon. I hate the way I look in pictures. I rarely like a picture taken of me, but somehow he just has the touch, because there are 20 or 30 pictures from the shoot that I picked out, and that I like, and like all of them, so he's just good that way.
That's sort of an endorsement for hiring a pro. Sometimes they can capture you not the way that you would, because I'm that way too. I could take 1,500 pictures and I go like, maybe one of them is good to me.
Yeah, that's a typical experience.
Absolutely. I feel the same way.
We shot a video in Nashville at the beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic came down, and we were going to go back there and shoot pictures with the director, who's a very good photographer. And then the tornado came, big tornado.
That time. Sure.
And then the pandemic. So there we were without a photographer, and our second album about to come out. So I reached out to Eric, who I'd known for a while. And I said, I know you're a food photographer, but do you ever do album covers? He said, well, I've done some in the past, and people don't really think about it, but I really shoot people. Yes, there's pictures of food everywhere in the cookbooks, but if you look at the cookbooks, there's a lot of pictures of the people who work in the kitchens, out in the field. When he shot the cookbook for Dandelion Chocolate, he went to Africa and went on to one of their biggest cacao plantations and was shooting pictures of all the people who work there. Mm-hmm. He's that kind of guy. Like, he's a hands-on dude. So anyway, that's the story of the album cover. It worked out great, and the designer that our manager Aaron picked out for us did a great job of making the cover look like it's a worn down, listened to 1,000 times album. If you look at the actual cover closely, it's like some worn.
It's like a distressed
circle
photo
around the edge, which makes it look like it's.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, it makes it looks like anything in your collection, right? You got some of those that have the worn circle there, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's how that came about. It was really productive, and we were very happy how it.
Cool. I had thank you for sharing. I always like to hear stories of the photo shoots. I had no idea this was going to take this turn, that you took a food photographer for this thing. As far as I know, food doesn't talk back. I don't know if he would agree that, but was this a first for him, or has he done this before and like take pictures of human beings?
He did the second album for us as well.
Oh, great. The StrongWriter? Yeah.
Yeah, for StrongWriter.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I haven't been out to Point Reyes in a little while. I used to go out there more. It is a huge national park, and when you start driving out there, it just goes on and on and on. I think it's one of the most westernmost points on the entire West Coast. It's way out there. So
that's where my son was. He had us at the Coast Guard station out there in Point Reyes. That was that's where he worked at one time. So we always said, "Oh, we'll got to get out there." But are there a lot of sand beaches, or is it a lot of like cliffs and rocks and things like that?
It's all the above.
Yeah. It's a nice mix, and I'm surprised that more production companies don't do more movies and make more commercials and things like that out there, because it's just so beyond belief beautiful. So
you like being in the area. It's a good place to put down roots for your life, to be in that area in San Francisco, because even the surrounding towns, there's different personalities to them, aren't there?
Oh, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
They're just charming.
A lot here to offer. I mean, there's, within 20, 30 minutes, you can be in a, sunny place, going for a hike over on Mount Tam. Lake Tahoe's a couple hours away. You can get to the snow. It's an absolute green belt for food. I mean, the farmers markets here are, amazing. It's an embarrassment of riches when you go to the farmers markets around here.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty great place to live.
It's fun to live fast, but good to live slow. A little bit of both keeps us happy, makes us grow. I'm a walking contradiction without superstition. A 19th century woman in the 21st century. Sometimes love is best at supersonic speed. Other times take the slow way home. Driving down the freeway or walking down the street. Life is full of this unmet that makes these love so sweet. Turntable in my kitchen, flip it over every 20. Let the music flow from the TV in my pocket. Write a movie script in one day. Cut and paste makes it easy. But some of the greatest books were written with a pen. Sometimes love is best at supersonic speed. Other times take the long way home. Racing on the speedway, walking hand in hand. Life is full of yin and yang that makes these love so sweet, oh so sweet.
Thanks for sharing, you two. For the benefit of those who are meeting you guys for the first time here, Andrew, where did you meet this lovely young woman and begin this ongoing whirlwind romance? If I remember right, it was pretty quick before you got hitched.
Yeah, I think from the time we met, we were married within about a year. I met her through a want ad. I was on
That sounds funny. Sorry, excuse me. I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
It always gets me, the one ad thing, but that's cool. It worked.
It wasn't in the back of of some, local weekly magazine, man seeking woman kind of thing. It was band seeking singer was the want ad. And
right. It's coming back to me now. Yeah.
Of the 50 people that responded, I narrowed it down to 2 people who I actually invited to the studio, and she sang through a song, and I told her she was hired, and that was that. And then 6 months later, after doing some pretty intensive songwriting sessions, we were doing it, a couple times a week.
And we were friends first. I mean, I think we became really good friends, and so that's
what happens when you're playing in bands. You become really good friends with the people that are there, and even if the band breaks up, whatever, I found that I have relationships with people I have played in various bands that have, they're still in my life. They're still friends, even though I might have played in a band with them 10, 15, 20 years ago. So there's really a bond that's created very quickly when you're playing in a band with people.
So I see Laura nodding. So it's all true, right? What he's saying, everything matches.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah,
got all the check.
Covered it all. Yeah.
So on your side of things, how you were the singer, so obviously you were there for him to, you were available as a singer. How did you come to be one of those? Was this something you had done for a long time?
A little while. I think all my life I was fascinated with musicals and music and dance. And I don't know when it happened exactly, but as a preteen, I bought a guitar, and I started listening to albums and trying to teach myself how to play songs. A girlfriend of mine had a guitar, and she helped me out with a couple of chords. And then, as once you start playing and creating, you just want to do it more and more. And then I started thinking, well, how can I sing, in a band? And it's funny, as soon as I put my mind to it, a door opened and things just started coming my way, people to play with, bands to join, and that sort of thing. So it was all very natural. And I was playing out in some different bands, and I wanted to do some studio work. This was in my early 20s, I think. And because at around 17, I had done a little bit of studio work with a friend who was making industrial commercials for mega corporations and things. And I got a lot of good studio experience. So anyway, a friend of mine said, hey, there's this ad in whatever it was, BAM magazine or whatever, and you should answer it. They're looking for a singer. And I thought, oh, I don't know. I'll get around to it. I was procrastinating, but then I eventually called. I met Andy. He came over, and it just, boom, it took off from there, and we've been together ever since.
Wow. How long ago was this? So just to know how long you've been together here.
Oh, 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It works.
I know. Right?
Good thing for that one ad that you obviously had to put your name out there, right? Would you just like, how'd that work? You decided that you were looking to expand what you were doing, maybe, or what?
Yeah, I think when you play live at that time when I was playing live with bands, it was a different world, and it started to become a grind. I enjoyed it, but I just wanted a little more variety. And I had that memory of, being in a studio and creating that way, because you can really get creative and do multiple tracks and harmonies. And it's like production, right? And so there was this whole other spectrum of music.
It's the songwriting side.
It's the song. I guess that's really it. And I wanted to do more. So
So it sounds like love blossomed and the musical partnership sort of came at the same time. You found out how you were compatible with each other in both arenas.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was so fun. So when we were friends first, like I say, and so Andy would come up with this music, and another friend would come up with lyrics at the time, and I would interpret it, and we would, within 2 hours we had something, recorded, and it's so addictive, it's instant gratification, and Andy could play all these different instruments, and so it just happened so fast that, it's just fun time.
That's the advantage of having a studio in the house, which I've had for 20 plus years. Always had a studio.
More than that, longer than that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not keeping.
I am.
count.
I'm keeping score, and I'm keeping count. You've had it. The entire time I've known you, you had a studio. It's evolved,
Yeah.
but a lot.
Yeah, way back when there was this stuff called tape that we used to record to.
Yeah.
But obviously studios have changed quite a bit.
Not to get too deep, but what kind of tape? Just you just putting cassettes into a machine, or you had a reel-to-reel that you were recording on, or what?
I had a reel-to-reel at that point, and sometimes when we would go into a real recording studio, you're working on those 2-inch reels, that ran for about half an hour, and they were really expensive, a couple $100 per.
Oh yeah.
And then unlike today, where essentially you use Pro Tools, it's like having a word processor. You can just lift things and move them around. Back then, you wanted to make sure your engineer, whoever was working with you in the studio, knew how to splice, because there was splicing going on. That means
you get the razor blades out and you put them together again, and
exactly.
Was it like a 2-track, 4-track thing that you had going, or?
I had my earliest studio. I had 8-track reel.
Oh, good. Yeah, so you had a little bit more possibilities there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I skipped over the whole ADAT thing, which didn't last that long. Do you remember ADATs?
Yeah, like a DAT machine with the bigger cartridges or whatever, the cassettes?
Well, the ADATs would record on videotape.
Yeah.
And each ADAT was 8 tracks, and you'd get like 3 of them, and you'd sync them up. So then, whenever you're recording, you've got 3 VHS tapes that are synced up.
Yeah. I used somebody else's. This is probably, I guess they were pretty popular for a short time in the 90s, maybe in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are crazy, but good. They put out a nice sound, but it's awkward sometimes. You can't really cart them someplace and say, here, let's take a listen to this. And you have one of those machines on you, or
Exactly.
or a VCR, or I don't know if it would play in those things. But.
It's the dark ages.
Yeah, it seems
compared to today. When you're using Pro Tools, which is so easy in a certain sense to use, if you know. I mean, it's not easy to learn, and it's quite deep. But once you get the hang of it, it does make things really easy.
Yeah.
You can do unlimited takes and lots of doubling of instruments and this unlimited tracks, and you swap files. I mean, the drummer on the record, Randy Cook, who played on the Mighty Love record, he lives in LA. Keyboard player lives in Nashville. And I'd send them Pro Tools files with stems, and I'd tell them, okay, I'm kind of hearing this, and also just play what you hear, send it back. They play through the song a couple times, and they get the file back, and I would comp it down into one final track. And I've never even met the keyboard player. I've communicated with them, but and that's just the way it works these days, right? You're sharing files, and Pro Tools makes it really easy.
Well, that's kind of nice that you have that. You can tell. I can relate to that a little bit, because I can tell you have a love for doing that sort of that technical side, that you probably get in there and craft, you hammer and forge these things until it's the way you want. so that Laura doesn't have to deal with it. And then all of a sudden, here you go. You want to try these out and see if you see what you think of this and whether you'd like to sing along with this track. And, I wonder if it's like that with you guys.
Each song is a bit of a marathon, because we don't really have a band per se. It's not like we're rehearsing 2-3 times a week and all the musicians are working out their parts and we go into a studio and record. I'm literally taking the songs from, an acoustic guitar with her singing on a voice memo on my phone to the studio and creating and finding all the puzzle pieces to the song. Early on, she'll come in and sing a demo, track. So I had kind of a roadmap of how to surround her vocal on the tracks. And, the original tracks I might set down, they never make it to the final version. Because the song just keeps on getting refined and you discover more things, and it's a real process that takes a while to really get it to the end point. And then at a certain point, when you're sort of close to the end, I send files out to the keyboard player and the drummer and replace the drum loops and replace my little MIDI keyboards with the real thing.
Yeah, that's exciting because then you can hear something. You hear it take a new shape and.
Oh yeah.
It gives
and that will a lot of times will require me to retrack a number of guitars. Yeah, as from listening to the record, we like a layered sound. We have a rather kind of lush sound.
Yes.
What we're doing, and there are a lot of guitars on there. There's a lot of doubling of guitars. I use on a number of songs. I use what they call the Nashville sound, where you strip off the lower strings on a 12-string guitar, and so it just has the high string. So you record a regular 6-string acoustic guitar or electric, and then you record the 12-string with just 6 strings on it. It sounds like a 12-string, but you can mix it exactly like you want, because the 12-string itself is a very thick sound. So you can get that fullness, yet you have control over it. So there's a lot of tracks on these songs, and every time something significant changes, when the drums come on, when the keyboards come on, it will change the overall vibe. I mean, I have to go back and retrack things, and even when she's recording her vocals, sometimes we'll get to the end, and I'll to make because everything musically is fitting around her. So that, my job is to, surround her with all these complementary pieces. So it's fun, it's challenging, and I get to play a lot of different guitars, and banjo and mandolin and a baritone guitar. You're just trying to figure out, okay, what's going to work,
Well, much like the other parts of your marriage, you're doing it all for her. Everything is about her, right?
That's what I always say.
May I ask Laura real quick can you illustrate that a little bit about what he said about you? Perhaps you voice memo something, and then you had an idea in your head, you start singing something, and then does he end up writing most of it after you've given them the germ of the idea, or do you go forward and write as much as you can once you have the concept going?
Sometimes I think it's complete. It's the whole song, and I come and sing it for him. Other times, he'll lift from the idea and create something. Other times he comes to me with the full song, and that's how we record it. Other times he'll come to me with what he thinks is the full song, and then I'll say, well, it would be cool what if we did that or did this, and we kind of collaborate. And
other times I'll come to her with a full song, and she'll say, no.
No,
she vetoes it?
That's a no.
That's it? No, that's a no.
That's a no.
I would just say, I'm not feeling it,
Go back
I like that other one better.
Well, that's good. Is there an example on this new album, Laura? Can you describe maybe one of the tracks on there that you did that, where you had something might have just come to you and you decided to sing it into your phone and you started going with that idea?
Oh yeah, I would say that the title
track.
The title track was that way.
Mighty Love?
Mm-hmm. So,
That's cool. Yeah, that's truly a collaboration. That's good.
Thank you.
And she has the final say if it's not going to happen, right?
I wrote a lot of songs for the record, and I think I wrote 6 on my own. I wrote 3 with a friend of ours who's a poet.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I probably wrote 20 plus songs, and she turned down half of them. It's, for whatever reason, every song has its redeeming qualities, but some are better suited for her than others.
Some are my favorite. It's like I can't go and buy the whole shoe store. I have to find my favorites, and maybe I'll buy 2 pairs or 1 pair that's my absolute favorite. So that's how I'm thinking about it. I just want the stuff that floats to the top that really turns me on. That's I'm super attracted to.
She has high standards. I think
Does she? Yeah. With shoes? Are we talking about shoes, or are we talking about something else?
Now we're talking about the music.
Yeah, sometimes you're really talking about shoes, it sounds like,
Sometimes.
Well, I think one of our friends said to us once, shouldn't the band be called 300 Pairs of Boots? Because
it could be.
The closet.
I keep moving, even if my feet are dragging and swollen. Cause knees are made for crawling, and nothing will keep me from it, baby. Cause baby, I got plans for you. Keep it up, keep doing what you're doing, keep going. Even when your life's in ruin and going. If only you keep moving toward the purpose that your heart wants to. I can remember crossing over time and tide to hold you again. Cause I got mighty love for you. I got mighty love for you. I keep moving, even if my heart is achy, I'm cruising. Even if lost or balling and nothing will keep me from you, honey. Cause honey, I got plans for you. Keep stepping, those storm clouds are together to drown you. And everyone's against you, you can swim. Don't paddle if it hurt you, if it gets you where you need to be. I can remember crossing over time and tide to hold you again. Cause I got mighty love for you. I've got mighty love for you. Keep working, stepping heavy for my baby, motoring. Cause I'm much too over skating, I'll show you. I'm not fooling, I'm not playing. Baby, I'ma get to you. So hang tough, though father times are looming, don't falter. Even if you lose a doggone shoe, keep aiming for the bullseye, and the bullseye's gonna aim for you. I can remember crossing over time and tide to hold you again. Cause I got mighty love for you. I got mighty love for you. I've got mighty love for you. I thought I'd drown in my ambition when they seemed my only friend. Not apprehension or petty problems can separate me from your love. I got mighty love for you.
And I know it's the obvious low-hanging fruit type of question, but why did you name it 3 Pairs of Boots? It sounds like it's inviting somebody to ask you why that is. So
very early on when we first started this, a friend of ours was helping us out, and he came in and did a little songwriting with us. We would just have songwriting sessions and just brainstorming right there in the spot. And we did that for a little while, and then he left. But while he was there, I was trying to think of a name that would signify the fact that there were three of us doing it. And I don't know how I came up with the name of Three Pairs of Boots. And then, shortly after that, he left and went on to do other things. He's helped us helped us get started on a few different projects. So he's more of a Latin music guy. And I've actually played off and on in some various bands with him that are, 8-piece, 10-piece, 12-piece Latin bands, horn section, percussion, sort of a 180 from Three Pairs of Boots. Fun.
Right, yeah. So
very different. So that's where the three pairs of boots came in. I just wanted to signify, that there were three of us. And now the third pair of boots is worn by whoever we're working with.
There you go. Like the producer or whoever's
we have a couple
writing with you. Yeah.
We have a couple of mix engineers who work for us, and a couple of the musicians that work for us. So it's a rotating cast. The third pair of boots is a rotating cast of whoever's helping us at the time.
Yeah. I do like the big sound that, you were describing, Andrew, about the, how it sounds, the production style. And I noticed Laura's, the vocals are, wetter vocals than you're hearing today. A lot of times very dry upfront vocals, way in front of the music, but this sounds a little more classic, like the old days when I was buying albums, you had that type of sound to it.
Oh, cool. I'm glad it strikes you that way, because I think that's exactly what we were going for.
Yeah, well, she likes to drown her vocals in the wet signal, and our mix engineers are all, I think they dialed it way back. I mean, there are some songs in there where they're pretty dry. Like on Even Song is pretty dry, as I recall. So it's really more of what does a song call for in terms of the vocal treatment. And but we do have a sort of more of a layered impressionistic type of sound with all this mishmash of influences that are on there. It does lend itself to being a little more lush, I think.
It is lush, yeah. It has that, harkens back maybe about 35, 40 years ago, that type of lush. In the 80s they started experimenting a lot with different layers and different reverb, and there was a whole different sound that was coming. Of course, there was a lot of electronica at that time, but
fortunately our mix engineers have very good taste and are constantly pulling it back and trying to bring out her vocals. Interestingly enough, when we finished the record and it was completely mastered, and the whole sort of inner circle is listening to it, our mix engineers, our manager, and what came up was, it sounds great, the mixes sound great, record sounds really good, but should the vocals be louder? And the sentiment across the board was yes. So we went back to our mix guys and said, all right, take the mix, don't change anything except pump the vocals up, put them up another dB.
And I had nothing to do with that. Just, I wanted to be known. That was not my opinion. So these were other insider people.
What were you going for? Did you want them? You wanted to drown them out more? No.
No, I mean,
did you want it a little more subtle in the mix? Is that what you were going for?
Yeah, I guess it didn't occur to me to turn the vocals up.
So the vocals are so important these days, and
I don't know.
I think a lot of music, pop music, whether it's country or rap or pop, the vocals sit on top. And the mixes were fine as they were, but the vocals could have sat on top a little more. And so we just went and remixed them, remastered them. And that it became obvious when you were A being the two versions, that it was better to have the vocals a little bit hotter. They were, the other mixes were fine. It's just that now the vocals really stand out and really sit on top. So,
yeah, Andrew will understand that. I'm sure you know that if you do the reverb too much, if there's too much decay, or it'll sort of spill onto the instruments, and then it's like you don't know what your ear wants to hear first. You want those vocals to be a huge part of the mix. You want everything to sound just perfect, but those vocals got to be there so you can understand what she's singing about.
Yeah, I think they came across really well. Again, I'm engineering everything as we're recording.
Yeah.
The art of mixing is not something that is my forte, and we're very lucky to have two really great mix engineers who can take my sort of ordinary rough mix and turn it into something really great.
I understand that perfectly, because I thought I was really good at engineering stuff on my own in the house, but until I started hanging around with the pros, I found out, okay, I don't know anything. Now you know why they studied and they stay up all hours of the night doing this kind of stuff and tweaking things, and it's aggravating. If you're a perfectionist, it just drives you crazy that it's not getting the way you want it.
It's amazing how they can change a song for the better, and I will tend to throw on a little too much reverb or delay or whatever on things, and they just pull it way back.
Yeah,
there's so many other ways to enhance all the various instruments and pieces of the puzzle that they're just so good at. And I know what I want to hear in my head. I can record it that way, but my rough mixes aren't quite that. Like, I can't get it to that point. They go way beyond what I'm hearing in my head, and just make it so much better. A good engineer
can usually within 2 to 3 steps they have it all fixed for you. they know what to do.
They're incredibly talented, and we're very fortunate to have them working for us. So,
is it pretty much, though, even though they've improved on it, is it pretty much the way it sounded, the way you wanted it to sound, like when you were trying to do it yourself, or do they make it even better than you could have imagined?
It's way better. They just elevate it way beyond what I would be hearing in my head. They get it to a point where it's what I want to hear, but it's hard for me a lot of times to imagine it sounding that good. So I have a certain way of hearing it in my head, but they just are able to just take it so far beyond that. So it's very impressive.
It was wild, reckless, and free in the land ruled by the Colt 45. They all slept under the sad stars. Cowboys, outlaws, sheriffs, and stagecoach drivers. Just call him love. He's the champion rodeo king. Growing up, they broke horses for 10 cents apiece.
It's a good chemistry you have when you create the both of you create this. So what are the influences, I saw some stuff printed in your little your bio, the Crosby, Stills and Nash, maybe the Byrds, the Fleetwood Mac, like goes across the map on different genres. But what do you think you're going for when you do all your albums? You have a particular style you like?
I don't. I think I'm just looking for. I think we are looking for good songs, good hooks, good melodies, things that stick with you. I like albums that stand up under repeated listens, so that you can continue to discover things in there, like a lot of ear candy. And always having something that's going to draw you in. My influences, I like a lot of different music. Bach, Debussy, Ravel, Miles Davis, Coltrane, Keith Jarrett, Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline. So
it's interesting. We were just having dinner with the old friend, Terry.
Oh. Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting what he said about you. He said, no matter what you're playing, what genre it is, I hear the blues. And he said, it's in your fingers. And he's been playing forever.
That was an interesting comment. He's a longtime guitar player, a very good guitar player, Terry Haggerty. And he said that about what that he heard the blues in my playing. And that's really true, because when I first started, when I was in my teens, and how I learned how to play, I was listening to the English guys from the 60s. Mm-hmm. Clapton, Beck, Hendrix, Peter Green, Jimmy Page. And those guys basically revitalized, I don't want to say ripped off, although you could accuse them sometimes of doing that. They were all, they were into the 50s American blues. They were.
Mm-hmm. They sure were.
Stones. They were Howling Wolf. They were Muddy Waters. It was all of that. So I got my blues licks really from how I first played, and when I was influenced by those guitar players, it led me to Albert King, Freddie King, and to all those blues guys from the 50s. And blues is just sort of on the other side of country music.
On the other side of rock.
Yeah, very, very similar. So it served me well, and I think there's just a tremendous amount of melody and feeling that you get in blues as well as in country, which has always attracted me. So
good.
I'm hoping we're continuing that tradition on with the Three Pairs of Boots. We really try to give the listener a lot to sink their teeth into.
And Laura doesn't seem to mind the genres, whatever it takes. It sounds good, and you sing along and make it better. So
yeah, I love it. We all have our influences or what have you, but it's a very pure work ethic that we have. I present a song and it just is what it is. It's just like I sing it in a natural voice, or he presents a song and he's presenting it to me in a natural voice, which is already so soulful in and of itself and its own thing, really. So we're just trying to chisel out something that's specific to us. I guess that's why we're in the Americana genre. That's what we're considered. We're not really considered, so I've read, country or
we're not a
rock
true country
or anything like that.
We have a lot of influences from that, but
I'm not against saying Americana, but so many people, it seems to be overused all the time. I've said it once or twice now, but it seems like Americana is sort of a catch-all phrase now for anything that, hey, throw it all in the soup and see what we have here. Mm-hmm. Now we'll call it Americana, and then all of us can play on the same stage now. So now we're all Americana acts.
It's a pretty wide genre. I think you can go all the way from us all the way over to this pure bluegrass band.
Yeah,
there's a lot of room in the Americana field, which is really nice.
Really nice. We were just talking about that with Terry again the other night, because the hit band he was playing in, he would be playing side by all sorts of different artists, and the shows that you would go to in the 60s and 70s were all very different. You'd have a blues player and then a rock guy or a jazz guy.
That was the thing about growing up in San Francisco. The shows here, music was not compartmentalized yet.
Yeah.
And so you had, jazz and blues and rock bands all sharing the same stage.
Yeah, that's
as long
true.
as it was good, people.
Yeah, go look up some old playbills or whatever. The posters from you see like a whole. I had no idea these people were playing with all these people. It seems like they shouldn't be in the same room with each other, but yet, if you go to one of those festivals or whatever, they were all in there, and you can get different flavors of music.
Oh yeah, get exposed to so much more, and get an education, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since Andrew's got some itchy fingers there, I'd love to. That might be a good time to grace us with a song. Now, there's one we agreed to, or Andrew did. It was his idea. What's the song that you agreed to play for us today for the folks?
It's a song called "Sweet Spot." That's it's about a person who's looking for their place and their partner, and just kind of on the hunt, and a very free spirit. And
actually, if I may,
yes,
Andy wrote it about our niece.
Well, she inspired
it. Loosely based on our niece and where she is in her life. It's a great age to be in your late 20s, and you're still finding yourself, and you're stretching, and that's where she is. So
okay.
Does
your niece know this yet? Or
yeah, she does.
She'll know that people are listening to a song that's kind of about her, so that's kind of nice. She's inspired, at least.
I think it's more she inspired me to write the song. It's kind of a jumping off point, and then it just kind of went to sort of a bigger subject matter that I think a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
And they're searching for the person they want to fall in love with and spend time with, and and where do you want to settle down? And there's so many questions about that people have, and trying to find the place where you really feel home. So, anyway,
well, I appreciate that you're going to play that. Sorry to get right to the point there, but as Laura was talking about, you were playing, and I was going to say, "What's that, Laura? I can't hear you." He's playing some licks on his guitar there, and it's coming through the microphone. But no, I really do appreciate it. I love to hear the acoustic sets here, and I'll get out of the way if you're ready to do it.
Yeah.
And if you are, you're gonna.
Laura's on the vocals, so here we go. I'm gonna step back, and this is Andrew Stern and Laura Arias. They are 3 pairs of boots, and they're gonna play "Sweet Spot." And here you go.
I'm just a wandering soul, happy wherever I go. I'm here and I am there, I'm everywhere. On a farm, in a city, small town, or foreign country, waiting for the signal to settle down. Looking for my sweetheart, I'm looking for my sweet spot. Looking for my sweetheart, looking for my sweet spot. And I can't see myself in Paris, champagne and crystal, or hanging in Montana on the range shooting pistol. Either one works for me, depends upon my mood. No matter where I am, looking for something new. I'm looking for my sweetheart, looking for my sweet spot. I'm looking for my sweetheart, looking for my sweet spot. that I can call home, where I don't have to be alone, where I can let my hair down and turn my life around. 9 to 5 ain't for me. I just wanna be free, free to listen, free to care, ready to share. Oh, in a world filled with doubt, just let me help. Don't want no part of tradition in my ambition. Looking for my sweetheart, I'm looking for my sweet spot. I'm looking for my sweetheart, looking for my sweet spot. I'm looking for my sweetheart, looking for my sweet spot. I'm looking for my sweetheart.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, you guys, you too. After 30 something years, I bet you're not even tired of that voice, are you, Andrew?
It's still,
Does it still get to you every time or what?
yeah. I mean, I was sort of always describe what we do here. That I'm the technician. She's the magic. It's never ceases to amaze me when we're tracking songs. There's this point where she just spills over into magic. She spills over into something that is not necessarily planned. She's checking my temperature. But it's what I'm looking for when I'm producing her vocal tracks, that I'm just looking for that there's just like something special about a particular performance, a particular line, the way she sings it. And sometimes it's like, oh, sing it like this, or she plans on singing it the way, but a lot of times it's just kind of like the structure of it is just a jumping off point for her. And, she'll sing it in a different ways, almost like unconscious or subconsciously. And it just comes out where you just go, oh yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm saving that. Like, that's the way that verse goes, kind of thing.
Well, that's very generous of you, but I would just say that, he puts me in a good space, because I feel safe and I feel comfortable. So I can just kind of try to connect with the words and with the music and be in that moment inside the song.
So yeah, that's I never get tired of hearing her sing, and it's always so interesting when we're tracking in the studio, because tracking it's a struggle. You're looking for that right performance, the right feel. Mm-hmm. And when she's singing, and it's like, oh, she's warming up, she's getting it, it's not there, and all of a sudden, like, oh, it's there. It's like, there it is. And it's still happening, even after 3 records.
Wow. Yeah.
And we're actually what I've learned from doing this project, because we're really kind of acting as our own record label, and putting all the pieces together for the albums getting promoted. We need the record has to be finished 9 months in advance. Because once it's finished, then you go get photos, and then you give the photos to the designer, and then you hire the team, the publicist, the radio promoter, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these dominoes that fall. This record, Mighty Love, was finished in December. It's being released early September. And we do have, 1 foot in that record right now as we're promoting it. At the same time, for the last 3 or 4 months, we've been writing and recording the next record, which is going to be released next year.
I like that,
so
yeah.
Kind of like we're in 2 different camps at the same time.
Yeah. No, you can just tell what a compatibility you two have, and and I think that's what makes it work. And for those who can't see, on the radio, they can't see Andrew. You had your capo there in the 3rd fret. So is that something that you'll work on to see what you think is the right key for her to sing in, so it sounds, so she doesn't have to struggle, or you already know what is the best for her?
That's a good question. That is just an absolute, top of the pile important piece to tracking a song with Laura. I'll write songs, and then the next thing we'll do is we'll put together a scratch track, just a voice memo on the phone, and one of the most important things we're doing at that point is, besides working at the melodies and maybe a basic arrangement to get started with, but it's what key should it be in. And I use the capo a lot. I'm looking for, again, it's sort of like what the song says, I'm looking for that sweet spot for her, right where it fits well for her. In fact, we can laugh about it now, but the actual very first time we ever played live, it wasn't a club. We actually performed a couple songs on a radio show here, because a friend of mine is a very well-known celebrity chef. He was on one of the top chef seasons, and he had a sort of a variety show, radio show, weekly on the station. So we get to and he asked us to come on and play a couple songs, and it was the first time we were going to perform in public, so to speak.
And everything that could go wrong went wrong that day. It was started with the rain, and we were stuck outside. We had the wrong contact phone number, so we couldn't get let in the building and down at KGO. And
oh no!
Oh my God! It was just like, remember, one thing after another.
Yes, but the worst part was when we got into the green room, and we're like 5 minutes away from being on the radio. I opened the guitar case, and we were going to play 2 songs with the capo on the 3rd fret, and I realized that, which is why I started swearing, and nobody else could figure out why I was so angry all of a sudden. Forgot the capo at home.
Oh no!
So fortunately, one of our mix engineers was there, and he very wisely said, "Well, just very carefully tune the guitar up a step," which I did, and so it all worked out. But
I mean, that reminds me of another time we were playing a gig up north somewhere. I don't know where it was, but after we did the set, I said, "Boy, such and such a song, that sounded different to me. What was different about that?" And it's like, I don't know what it is. He said, "Oh, I was playing it in the wrong key." So, and you just kind of adjust in the moment. And
each song for her is very site specific. I mean, there is a particular key that's just like the right key for her, and she can go up or down, a half step or a step, depending. In fact, when we played gigs, because I don't want to move the capo around, 17 different times, I will kind of consolidate. So if there are a number, like if there's 4 songs with the capo in the 2nd fret, and then there's another song with the capo in the 3rd fret, I just won't change it, and I'll just have her sing half step down, and it's fine.
Yeah, but have you committed her range, her sweet spot, if you will, to memory, so that hey, this is always going to work for her?
I'm pretty good about getting close to.
He's great, but here's the thing, sometimes it depends on the song. The song dictates, because we were just working on a song that he wrote for this next album that we're working on, and we thought we had the key, and we're working on it, and there was just something, and I thought, could we just try a half step up? And doing that, suddenly when we got to the hook, it was almost like at the edge of my range, which caused this thing to happen. It was just a more gripping, or more, it was just more special. And I thought, let's change that key, because I like how it sounds when we go to the chorus now in this key.
Things change all the way through the recording process, and we got to the end of StrongWriter, and there were 12 songs on there, mixed and mastered and done, and we listened to the whole record, top to bottom, we hadn't really heard it for a little while, because we were done, and it was in the hands of the mix guys.
Yeah.
And we'd like, 2 of those songs just aren't quite as good as the other 10. So we pulled them off. So you never know, anywhere along the process. There was another song on that record which we really liked, but we thought that, and this is again after we had mixed and mashed it, we thought we hadn't given it the right treatment, so we went back and retracted and essentially redid it.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
Completely changed the feel.
Yeah, the process.
Or the time you wanted to take one song, I won't say which one it was, off the last album or the one before that.
Oh, no,
anyway,
Mighty Love, yeah.
well, no, the one before that, you wanted to take something off. And I thought, no, that would be a mistake because there's just this sequence to that album.
yeah,
and
I
that
do
just
remember
really fit so well. Anyway.
You just don't know. I mean, you know, you're working on these songs so intensely over a period of months and months that sometimes you lose perspective.
Yeah.
You love that song, but then after hearing it, you know, so many times and working on it for so long, you start to wonder, oh, was it really good enough? And I sort of was wondering about that song and thought that, well, maybe it isn't. And then she was like, no. That song has to be on the record. It fits the sequence. It fits the record. And she was right. So,
well, somehow you figured it out because it's going to be coming out now. You can't go back and fix it, right? You got it.
That's it.
Yeah, as you say, you had it done a few months back, so it's raring to go now. So I'm glad, and it sounds great. I'm glad I always like to hear the stuff before it gets released. It's pretty special. It makes you feel it makes me feel like I'm part of the club here.
And you're very special.
I'm looking forward to this one. I think this record might have really turned out well. I think we're getting better. We've gotten better each album, and this one really was a step up.
Yeah.
It's got, I think one of the songs we've got a horn section that was scored for us, and another song.
Right.
We had a horn section scored for us. So that was.
And our friend Greg is singing backgrounds on a couple of songs, which was such a treat to get him singing with us. It was really fun.
We're kind of branching out a little bit and just getting better at the production side.
We take a leap of faith, throw caution to the wind. When our baby comes along, we're all in. Are we good enough? Are we prepared to receive unconditional love? Ready or not?
Well, I'm having so much fun talking with you. Three Pairs of Boots, Andrew and Laura. Their album is called Mighty Love. Where do you go get this thing? You have a website? What's your best social media to go to so that
I think
where you're active at least?
Yeah, we're obviously everywhere, just like all artists who are putting stuff out. So you can find the music on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, Amazon. It's everywhere. We do have our own website, which just got redesigned. Looks really great. Probably the best place to follow us, even though we obviously are on Twitter and Facebook. But I tend to think that Instagram is the best place to find out what's going on with us and all the latest news. And
right.
So I would recommend that.
Lots of good photos of Laura on there. I saw. Yeah, so that's good.
Yes.
So yeah, because she's not
her.
as many as because Andrew's admitted that he'll put the glasses and the hat on so nobody has to.
Yeah, exactly.
I should do that more often too, because I'm so self-conscious. I'd love to like with the radio thing. I'd love to get a good picture, but I flip through my phone. I can't find anything that I like, so it's good to hire somebody like you guys did. So I'm glad. Yeah. Glad it's working out. I really appreciate you too. At the end of each show, I like to ask a little bit of advice for those songwriters, those musicians, artists that are listening. It gets tough sometimes, things happen like pandemics or, maybe things come up in your family. You might be up and down. Fortunately, you two, when one is up, the other one can sort of, be there to catch you. Little things like that. Any good advice to keep them stable and keep their head in the game and all that?
Never give up. If it's what you love, look at us. I mean, we're as old as the hills and we're still doing it. We still love it. And, you just do it. Do it. It's so good for you. It'll keep you young. It'll keep you in a great frame of mind. And what's your advice, Andy?
I think that's a good way of putting it. I think it's important to find joy in it. Because as much as we love playing, I don't think it's particularly good business to be in. It's not easy to make money at it. It's not easy to sustain yourself that way. So you need to sustain yourself by how it makes you feel. That's, to me, still the most important thing. And I still feel like I'm 15 years old when I'm playing. I get the same charge now as I did back then when I first started. So I think that's an important thing. Is don't give up. Do it for yourself, and make yourself feel good from doing it, and appreciate that, and consider that the ability to play, to write, to sing makes this a tremendous success for yourself. And anything above and beyond that, icing on the cake.
Great. Both of you had some great things to say, and thank you for sharing a little bit of how the stew is made. Because that's part of it. This is not a how-to show, but I'd love to hear the process. People can get a little inspiration from that too. Go like, wow, they kind of do what I do. I think I could do it too. I think I can keep going and do big things like they're doing. So I really hope that we can run across each other again when you're doing that fourth album. But this is, for now, you got a great one going here, and I'm loving it. So Mighty Love is a great find. Go check it out. You can make sure when you look for 3 Pairs of Boots that it's the number 3. That'll get you if you want to do a search engine on that, and you'll find out all about them. Andrew and Laura, thank you so much for being part of the show, and hope this is not the last time. Here you go.
Thank you
We
so much.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We had a great time.
Well, God bless you too. I'm going to let you go and go check them out, 3 Pairs of Boots. Thank you, folks. Really appreciate everything, and have a great day today.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay, we'll be in touch again. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to StrongWriter on the radio, as heard on the Dean Olson radio program, and heard all across America on Power Me Up Radio, powered by Raven International.